This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. And for today's show, we're going to be talking head coach vacancies, which one has the best, or which team has the best head coaching vacancy in the NFL. We'll actually start off the first segment with that, but we'll also be talking about the NBA games going on last night, talk about the Celtics and Cavaliers game, talk about maybe are the Celtics the team to beat in the East? Are the Cavs still the team to beat in the East? We're not sure. We'll talk about it. We'll also talk about which teams currently in the playoffs out of the AFC and NFC are currently have a chance at actually winning a Super Bowl. Because, I mean, like I've said, we got 12 teams in here, okay, but how many of them can actually go out and go win a Super Bowl? It's not as many as people might think. I mean, right now I got maybe 3, 4, 5, maybe. I don't know. I'll talk about each team and talk about their chances, even talk about the wildcard teams and talk about why they might have a chance or why they have no chance at all. And then for that last segment, instead of making the NBA picks, how I do usually in the NBA segment, we'll make that in the last one. We'll talk about the college basketball games that went on yesterday and talk about anything else going on in sports. I think we got a couple of soccer games going on right now too, so maybe those will finish up by the time we get to that segment. So let's just get it started right now. All right. So who's got the best? Actually, let me go through each team with a current head coaching vacancy, and then after I talk a little bit about each, we'll rank them. All right, so let's just get this out the way. We all know that John Gruden's going to the Raiders, but obviously it's not official or anything like that because they still got to interview people. And let's just talk as if John Gruden, like, it's not known if he's going to the Raiders or whatnot. Let's talk about the Raiders. Like, if, like, just pretend like John Gruden isn't going there because we all know he is. All right, so the Raiders. What do they have to offer to a new head coach? All right, they got Derek Carr, and I know he didn't have all that good of a season, like that great of a season this year, but I think that has to do more with the fact that he fractured his back and he came back after only missing 1 week. I mean, as a quarterback, I'm not like a genius or anything like that, but I just imagine that you're going to need your back in order to play well, right? Or maybe you just don't. But either way, I mean, I think that had to do with why he wasn't playing well. And also, I mean, his receivers couldn't catch a ball to save their lives. I mean, Michael Crabtree, he was all right this year. Well, he was their best receiver by far, but I mean, the guy had trouble catching the ball also. Then Amari Cooper was nowhere to be found all year. I think he had that one 221 yard, 201, I think it was 201 yard receiving game against the Chiefs, and then that was pretty much it. That's all we saw from him this season. I mean, thanks to Amari Cooper, he made me waste a second round pick in my fantasy team for you, and then you had Seth Roberts, too, the little slot guy that they got, and he really couldn't catch the ball either. So, I mean, Derek Carr, I mean, it really wasn't completely his fault as to why the Raiders weren't playing well this season. So, I mean, yeah, either way, next year he's going to be healthier, obviously. He's going to just need more rest for his back, and pretty much, like I said, that's all he needs is rest and whatever else he needs to heal it up. And then, I mean, I know Amari Cooper still had a bad year, but, I mean, he's not a bad receiver. I think catching the football is just a mental thing, honestly. I think he's just got to figure out a way to get out of his own head and to realize, you know what, I'm in the NFL for a reason. Okay, I had a great year last year, so I just got to figure it out. And Michael Crabtree, I've been seeing on Twitter from a couple of Raiders writers that Michael Crabtree might not be back this season after this season. So, I mean, we're going to see where he ends up or if he stays with the team. If he stays with, if I'm the Raiders, I'm bringing him back. He's still a great receiver. I understand he had that whole incident with Aqib Talib and got suspended. That hurt the Raiders too. But I think that you still got to bring him back. I mean, he's a good complement to a good compliment to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's more of the deep threat, but when you need a first down or a touchdown near the goal line, you got to throw the ball. I mean, Crabtree's always going to be the guy that's there. So, I mean, that's good for them right there, too. Offensive line didn't have the greatest year this season, but, I mean, they could always pick it up next year. They've been one of the better offensive lines in the last few seasons. And the only really bad thing about the Raiders right now is that defense. That defense was brutal. I've been saying it on the last few podcasts, and I'll continue to say it until they figure out a way to fix it. I mean, I don't understand how you can go through draft after draft and just either not do enough to help pick up the defense or just continually draft bad defensive players. I mean, whoever's doing the scouting over there, coming up with decisions, just has to do better, because what they got going on defense the last couple of years has just been brutal, and that's probably the biggest reason why the Raiders they've just fell flat on their face this season. I mean, you can't go anywhere without a good defense, so I mean, they just got to figure it out. But like obviously we all know John Gruden's going there, and I'm not really too sure what he's going to be able to do there that Jack Del Rio couldn't do this season. Obviously, I mean, it's all going to come down to the draft for the Raiders. If they don't fix that defense, John Gruden has no chance. If anything, this is just a business move by the Raiders, bringing him in. Or he's going to keep putting butts in the seats in Oakland, because obviously after this year, I mean, who'd want to go watch the Raiders knowing that they're leaving? So obviously Mark Davis comes out, and he did the same thing with Marshawn Lynch too. When they were first announced that they were going to Vegas, what did they do? They brought in Marshawn Lynch so they could still sell out games. And they didn't just bring in Marshawn Lynch, because he's a great running back or anything like that. No, that's the farthest reason why they brought Marshawn Lynch in, is because it was to put butts in seats. All right, and they're doing the same thing with John Gruden here. All right, I'm not too high on John Gruden going to the Raiders right now. All right, the guy's been an average coach. Won a Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's players, and that defense was one of the greatest defenses of all time. So I mean, he got that. But then after that Super Bowl, what else did he do? He didn't do anything. I mean, he did do well with the Raiders when he coached them, but that was back in 98, 99, or 99, 2000, 2001, I think. Maybe 4 years, I can't remember exactly. But, I mean, do you really expect him to go out and do well with this team? I really don't, but like I said, they just got to fix up a bunch of problems throughout the draft. All right, next head coaching vacancy, let's go with the Bears right now, all right? Bears, I think that's the most desirable place to go coach. If I was a head coach, I'd want to go coach the Bears, all right? Here's why. You got Jordan Howard, one of the top 10 running backs in the league, and I mean, you could probably argue too, they could be top 7, maybe top 6. I don't know what I want to call them, top 5 running backs. And you got Todd Gurley. Who else? We got Todd Gurley. Let's see. I'm blanking on a bunch of running backs right now. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank right here. I'm going to throw, Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott. Who else do we got? There's not really too many top running backs, I don't think. Jay Ajayi was good for a couple of years, but then ever since he got traded to Philly, really hasn't been the same back. I mean, Leonard Fournette, I guess you could throw him in there. Man, I'm just drawing a blank. Maybe Mark Ingram. Maybe Jordan Howard is the top 5 running back. But either way, you got him out there, okay? Running back position is set, okay? Your offensive line, you got to work on that, but it's not as bad as as other teams. And then your defense is really young and they're really quick. I really like Eddie Jackson out of playing safety for the Bears, and they got a good, solid defensive line and good linebackers too. So I mean, the defense really has just got to mature and develop a whole lot more, and they're gonna be playing well. And then the only problem they really have is at wide receiver. I mean, at quarterback, you got Mitch Trubisky, who was a rookie this year. Didn't really put up too many solid big stats or anything like that, but I mean, he did well with what he had. I mean, I could have probably gone out and played wide receiver for that team. Obviously not really, but they didn't really have any top receivers out there, and they got to pick. I think it's around 11, 12, probably 8 through 12. It's got to be somewhere around there, I think. I think it might be top 8. I can't remember exactly, but either way, that's a good spot to go and take Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. And if they take Ridley, boom, you got Mitch Trubisky, his number 1 receiver, number 1 guy to throw it to. And like I said, the only problems really that I saw for the Chicago after they fired John Fox is obviously now they just need to fix up their receiving core, and they need a solid head coach. And obviously, if you're a head coach thinking about signing with Chicago, you're also going to think you're a pretty good head coach. So, I mean, they're going to get that fixed, and then all you need is a couple of receivers to pretty much play better than the ones they had this season. So, if you do that, I mean, you're going to be a solid team in the NFC. I think if they were to, the Bears were to hire a good head coach and get a couple of good receivers, such as Ridley, out of the draft, then that's a 6-win team at least right there, maybe even 7. They could possibly compete maybe for a wild card spot in the NFC, not make the wild card or anything like that, but just compete at least. And that's probably just one of the things they need to do is if they're able to win 6 games next season, that's a successful year for the Bears, I think. All right, next up, the Detroit Lions. They need to get this one right. Okay, Matt Stafford should be in the playoffs every year. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think he's top 5, top 6. Let's see. We got Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Rodgers. I think I'll take Stafford over Big Ben right now. Who else are we missing right now? Are we missing anyone else? Man, I'm drawing blanks on quarterbacks again right here. Let's see. Let's go through the divisions. AFC East, only Tom Brady. AFC South, Stafford's better than all of them. AFC North, he's better than Flacco. I already said he's better than Roethlisberger. AFC West, he's better than Carr. He's better than Alex Smith. NFC South, let's go. You got Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, and Drew Brees. I'll say he's better than Cam, and I'll take Matt Ryan over him and Drew Brees. So, boom, that's 3. Then Tom Brady, that's 3 quarterbacks right there. Let's go NFC West, I'll take him over Dak. I'll take him over Eli. I'll take him over Carson Wentz. And I'll take him over Kirk Cousins, definitely. NFC North, like I said, you got Rodgers, so there's the 4th quarterback right there. I'll take him over Case Keenum. Obviously, he plays in the NFC North also. And let's see, NFC West, I'll take him over Jimmy G. I'll take him over Russell Wilson. So, yeah, it's Matt Stafford to me, top 5 quarterback. So, if you're a coach thinking about signing with Detroit, you got Matt Stafford, a top 5 quarterback right there. You need a running back. Your offensive line's played well. You got Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. Your receiving core is already solidified and set. And then you got a Holiday, who's I think he was a rookie this season. He showed some flashes. He was hurt for most of the year, I believe. But I mean, if he can stay healthy, that's going to be a solid number 3 guy right there. And that defense really, they need to fix up the defensive line a little bit. Linebacker's looking good, and the secondary's looking good. So I mean, right now Detroit might. Like, if you're looking for a team to win now instead of build a team like Chicago, then I'd say go to Detroit. But I mean, Detroit's got to get this head coaching hire just perfect, nail it on the head right here, because if they don't, then it's going to be more wasted years for Matt Stafford. And let's see, who else do we got? I think we got the Giants. The Giants, not really too much of a desirable spot for me in the Giants. Okay, you got an aging quarterback, Eli Manning. The GM, Dave Gettleman, looking like he's going to keep him the next 2 years and just have Eli retire as a Giant. Obviously, they're going to take a quarterback in the draft, whether it be Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen. That's all going to depend on who Cleveland takes, and Cleveland should have a head coaching vacancy, but, you know, I guess they know what they're doing because they have been, the last 19 years they've been knowing what they were doing. But either way, going back to the Giants. So, yeah, you're going to need a quarterback. You need a running back. I think you need an offensive line. You're going to need a new receiving core, obviously, because I doubt Odell Beckham Jr. is going to come back from his injury until he gets paid. So, obviously, just pay Odell Beckham Jr. Are we still sure that Brandon Marshall can do it after his injury? Can he still play well? We're not sure. I know Sterling Shepard played well this season while they were gone. You got Evan Ingram. And then that defense needs to be fixed up, too. I think they need to get rid of Eli Apple. There's a big whole thing about how he was just a huge locker room distraction. You had Landon Collins, leader of the team, come out and say that Eli Apple was a cancer. I know Landon Collins came out and said after that, he regrets his comments and he'll always mentor Eli Apple. But he said what he said. He knew what he was saying, and he meant it, I'm sure. So either way, you got to get rid of him, and you got to change the whole locker room culture out there in New York and pretty much start from scratch. And like I said, just pretty much build up the culture again. So, I mean, that's going to be a tough job to do right there. So I'm not really too sure if I'm a coach, I want to go over there and just deal with that, because then you got the New York media and pretty much everyone else in your ear the entire time. So, I mean, New York, it's not really too much of a desirable spot for me. And let's see, for Indianapolis, you got Andrew Luck, okay? If Andrew Luck comes back healthy, boom, you got a top 5 quarterback right there, easily. I'd take him over Stafford, but Andrew Luck's not healthy right now, so Stafford just gets the nod. But yeah, going back to the Colts, you got Andrew Luck. You need a running back. You need another receiver. You need to fix the offensive line. You don't need a tight end, because if Andrew Luck comes back healthy, then Jack Doyle is going to have a big year, and you need a defense. So pretty much, you're only going there for Andrew Luck. Another downside, Jim Irsay is your owner. All right, so if I'm a head coach and I'm looking for a spot, do I really want to go to Indianapolis just for Andrew Luck? I know if Andrew Luck's out there, then he's going to he's going to put you in contention to win the AFC South. But I mean, I just really wouldn't want to deal with Jim Irsay as my owner, honestly. That's like the biggest thing right there. I really can't stand Jim Irsay. I don't think he's a good owner. I think he gets in everyone's way too much. So, I mean, if you really set on Andrew Luck and you think you can stay away from Irsay and pretty much help build up that team, because the Colts have never really been a good team at drafting, all right? They literally had Peyton Manning save them for however long he was with them, 10, 13 years or whatever, and then Andrew Luck comes and boom, they hit on another great quarterback right there, and they don't really need to fix up anything else because Andrew Luck makes everyone else around him better. So, I mean, He's coming off a shoulder injury, so that's going to be a tough job to do. And for the final head coaching vacancy right now, we got the Arizona Cardinals. No quarterback. You got David Johnson, but he's coming back off of a big injury. Larry Fitzgerald's getting older. He's probably only got 2 more years in him at least, or at the very most. All right. Other than that, you don't really have too many good receivers. Tight end, that's a position of need right there. Offensive line, and that defense has played well, I guess, the last few years, but they're getting older. So Arizona is an aging team that needs to get younger, and I just don't think that's a good, that's a solid spot to go be a coach for either right there. I mean, they're starting from scratch now. Arizona's going to be a bad team for a few years going forward. So if you're a head coach and you want to go there, go ahead, but I mean, that's going to be a tough spot. So let's rank them, all right? So I'm going to go Detroit is my number 1 spot. I'm going to go Chicago as my number 2 spot. All right, then I got Oakland at my number 3 spot, but Oakland doesn't really matter since Gruden's going to be going there. Then at number 4, I got the Giants. At number 5, I'll go with the Colts. And then at number 6, I'll go with the Cardinals. So that's how it is right there. Again, I got Detroit as my number 1 spot, the number 1 most desirable destination for a future head coach. And then Chicago, because they're a really young team, and I think they're not far off from winning a bunch of games next season. Then Oakland, obviously, but John Gruden's going to be there, so there's no point. And then the New York Giants, then the Colts, and then the Arizona Cardinals. So you might disagree with me, you might agree with me, but either way, I think that's what it is right there. So that's actually going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking some NBA, recapping the games from last night, saying a few things about each team. You know how we usually do it. So we're going to be doing that, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. That last segment, we just talked about the head coaching vacancies, talked a little about each team with the vacancy, talked about what's good about them and what's bad about them. Talked about, like I said, each team, and I ranked them too. I ranked them, I had Detroit at the number 1 best spot to go to, then Chicago, then Oakland, then New York as in the Giants, then the Indianapolis Colts, and then the Arizona Cardinals. And I really think that Chicago, that's like, obviously I picked Detroit at number 1 because I think it's the team that's most ready to compete. I mean, they barely missed out on the playoffs this year. So obviously if you bring in a solid coach, a guy who knows what he's doing, because I feel like them firing Jim Caldwell was just pretty much like they want to be in the playoffs and they should be in the playoffs. So that's why they got rid of him. And like I was saying with Chicago, I mean, that right there, that's a young team ready to compete next year. They're going to get at least 6 wins if they get the head coaching hire right. But I mean, it all depends on the front office. They went Mark Trestman and then got John Fox after that, both back-to-back bad hires. So they have to really get that. And like I said, as far as the Raiders go, I mean, they're going to get John Gruden, so that doesn't really matter. And as for the New York Giants, Colts, and Cardinals, those are going to be tougher jobs to do right there because you're going to have to hit in the draft and pretty much build your team up, and it's going to take a few years to rebuild. So we'll see how they do. But let's talk some NBA right here. I was going to start off with the Celtics and Cavs game, but I'm going to save that for the end since I have more to say about that one. So let's get into it with the Rockets and Magic. Houston headed into Orlando. Houston won that one, 116-98. Ryan Anderson had 17 points, 7 rebounds. Clint Capella had 21 points, 8 rebounds. Eric Gordon, 17 points, 6 assists. And then Gerald Green, look at him off the bench. Recently signed to the Rockets. I think it was last week, and he dropped 27 points, had 6 rebounds. And as for Chris Paul, not a good game from him. Only had 8 points, 13 assists, 7 rebounds. Shot 3 of 13 in that game. He's really going to need I know it's just one bad game, but he's going to need to pretty much be the leader of this team right here with James Harden out. Because obviously with James Harden, you can afford for Chris Paul to have a bad game or two. Because, you got James Harden, top 5 player, possibly even top. Yeah, I'm going to go top 5 because I still think you got LeBron, Kevin Durant, Kawhi. So he's like top 4 right there. I'll put him at the number 4 spot. But, yeah, James Harden's going to be out for at least 2 weeks with a hamstring injury, and those really never really get healed up until after the season, so we have, actual time to get it ready and get it all fixed. But Chris Paul is, maybe he's going to, because the Rockets are they're a fast-paced team, fast-paced, pretty much pull-up, three-point shooting team, and Chris Paul, he's always been, one of those, traditional point guards, obviously, a traditional point guard is one who rebounds and assists, but Chris Paul can shoot too. So I think he's really gonna take over this team right here and pretty much play the way that he wants to play. So we'll see if he's able to do it. But I'm really not too worried about the Rockets with James Harden out, just because they got Chris Paul out there and they got a bunch of other good shooters out there also. As for the Magic, you had Aaron Gordon with 16 points, 8 rebounds. Elfrid Payton had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and Evan Fournier only had 10 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 2 of 11 in this game. As for the Spurs, first pick I got wrong yesterday. They headed into Philly on a back-to-back, and Philly won that one 112-106. LaMarcus Aldridge had 24 points, 14 rebounds. Kyle Anderson, 14 points, 7 rebounds. And Brian Forbes had 15 points. No Kawhi Leonard in this one. He doesn't play back-to-back games yet, but I'm sure eventually as time goes on, he'll get back into it. As for the 76ers, you had Dario Saric with 15 points, 7 rebounds, shot 4 of 10 in the game. You also had Joel Embiid with 21 points, 11 rebounds. Ben Simmons, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And JJ Redick had 20 points, 4 assists. Philly is currently, they are currently 18-19, almost back at 500. They went through a little bit of a slide right there last couple of weeks, losing a bunch of games, but it looks like they're starting to pick it up again. As for the New York Knicks, they headed into Washington. Washington won that one, 121-103. Kristaps Porzingis, 16 points, 6 rebounds, shot 5 of 13. Back-to-back bad games from him. I think it was against the Spurs yesterday where he had shot 5 of 13 or 5 of 16 also. So really needs to peak up his game in order for the Knicks to play well. The Knicks are currently, is it 18-20? Yeah, currently 18-20. They were at 500 for most of the first part of the season, but now they're starting to show maybe we're not ready yet to make the playoffs, but they just got to pick it up. Enes Kanter had 12 points, 4 rebounds, and Jarek Jack had 10 points. As for the Wizards, you got Martin Gortat with 21 points, 8 rebounds, shot 9 of 10. John Wall had 25 points, 9 assists, and Bradley Beal had 27 points, shot 11 of 14 in that one. Washington's starting to pick it up now that John Wall's back in. Right now, I think I have to double check the standings, but they're climbing the way back up, so they will be competing with the Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers as soon as they get back up there. So watch out for Washington as a tough team, and you got Toronto too. But I'm not too high on Toronto just yet, but I might just be sleeping on them. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they headed into Brooklyn. The Brooklyn Nets won that one 98-97. Andrew Wiggins had 17 points, shot 8 of 17. Karl Anthony Towns was 16 points. He had 10 rebounds also. Then you had Jimmy Butler with 30 points, shot 7 of 17 in that game. And then Rondae Hollis-Jefferson with 10 points for Brooklyn. And then Sean Dinwiddie with 26 points, 9 assists. He shot 9 of 14, and that one for Brooklyn. And Brooklyn's been playing well so far this season. They're 15-23, and that Nets pick isn't looking too good for the Cavs so far. They might need to trade that one away to a team who probably needs to pick a little bit higher, because the Nets pick last couple of years, it's been top 4, top 3. And this year, it's probably going to be about maybe 8th, 9th, or 7th pick right there. So, the Cavs, that's going to be a high pick, but it's not as high as they probably expected it to be when they got it from the Celtics. Let's see. As for the Detroit Pistons, they hit it into Miami. Miami won that one 111-104. Detroit, that's an 8th seed team right there that's going to get bounced in the first round. They started off hot, but they just really haven't been able to put it together at all ever since then. Miami, they've been playing well. No one really... Miami's where we expected them to be. Miami right now, they're 20-17, fighting for the 8th and 7th spot right there. And, no one really expected them to do too much. They're right where they need to be, and they're playing well. But let's head into the stats right here. Tobias Harris for Detroit had 19 points, had 6 rebounds, also shot 6 of 13. Reggie Bullock had 17 points. Let's see, Ish Smith only 6 points, shot 3 of 10, and Avery Bradley had 15 points, but he only shot 6 of 19. Josh Richardson for Miami had 22 points, 5 assists. He shot 7 of 12. Hassan Whiteside only 10 points, 4 rebounds. Miami's starting to ease him back since he finally came back from his injury. Kelly Olynyk had 25 points, 13 rebounds. He shot 11 of 15, 3 of 5 from three-point line. Kelly Olynyk, Miami signed him to like a 5-year, $46 million deal. Or is it 4 years? Can't remember exactly, but he's been playing really well so far this season, and I think he's been a big pickup for Miami ever since Hassan Whiteside went out. So if Whiteside comes, like with Whiteside back, now he's starting to get back into the fold of things. If he starts playing well, maybe him and Kelly Olynyk can be a good 1-2 duo right there. As for Goran Dragic, he had 24 points, 13 assists, 5 rebounds also, and he shot 9 of 19 in that one. As for the Toronto Raptors, they hit into Chicago. They won that one. Toronto won that one, that is. 124-115. Serge Ibaka had 16 points, 7 rebounds. He shot 7 of 12. Jonas Valanciunas only played 18 minutes, had shot 0 of 2 from the field, 0 points, only 4 rebounds. Not a good game from him. Kyle Lowry, 32 minutes in that one, had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, only shot 5 of 14 in that one. Not a good game from him either. But DeMar DeRozan played extremely well. I think he's coming off of a 52-point performance too the other day, so he's been really picking it up, and no one's been really talking about DeRozan this year. I mean, I'm not too sure why either. DeMar DeRozan just really doesn't get a fair shake in the league. I mean, dare I say he should be in the MVP conversation. He's been playing really well, but I don't know if it's because he plays in Toronto or it's just everyone likes LeBron and KD a whole lot better right now in the MVP conversation, and James Harden also, because, I mean, DeMar DeRozan, like I said, he's been playing extremely well. He's been putting up points. He's been doing it consistently. Every time I check the Raptors game or check the stats, how they're doing, DeMar DeRozan's always at the top of the score sheet, so he deserves a little bit more recognition than what he's getting. As for the Bulls, you had Lauri Markkanen, the rookie, with 22 points, 12 rebounds, shot 9 of 17. Denzel Valentine had 14 points, 7 rebounds, and Justin Holiday had 26 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 7 of 10 in that one. As for the Indiana Pacers, they really need Victor Oladipo back. They haven't been playing well with him not in the lineup. Victor Oladipo, like I said, he's been playing well all season, but he just can't stay healthy. He really just can't stay healthy and put together a long, consistent amount of games. But Milwaukee won that one, 122-101. As for the Pacers, you had Bojan Bogdanovic with 13 points, 3 rebounds. He shot 5 of 13. Not a good game from him. Miles Turner, only 9 points, 6 rebounds, shot 3 of 8. Not a good game from him either. And Darren Collison had 17 points. He shot 6 of 9. Lance Stevenson, 15 points, 7 rebounds. And Domantas Sabonis had 24 points, 2 rebounds, shot 10 of 13. He's been playing really well since he got traded with Victor Oladipo to Indiana from Oklahoma City. As for those Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo with 31 points, 10 rebounds. Shot 12 of 18 in that one. Chris Middleton had 27 points, 3 rebounds, shot 9 of 14. Eric Bledsoe he played 28 minutes, only took 4 shots, went 3 of 4, and had 7 points in that one. And Malcolm Brogdon off the bench had 17 points, shot 5 of 9 in that one also. As for those Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry had the game-winning 3-point shot at the end. He had 32 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Shot 11 of 19 in that game. And again, the Warriors won that one 125-122. For Draymond Green, he had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Shot 7 of 11 in that one. Kevin Durant, 25 points, 12 rebounds. Klay Thompson also had 25 points. He shot 11 of 19, 3-6 from the three-point line. As for those Dallas Mavericks, you had Dirk Nowitzki with 12 points, 8 rebounds. He shot 5 of 11. And Harrison Barnes, 18 points, 5 rebounds. Dennis Smith Jr. had 14 points, 8 assists. He's been playing really well this season. And Wesley Matthews had 22 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 7 of 11 in that game. Next game up, we got the Denver Nuggets, who faced off with the Phoenix Suns in Denver. Denver won that one 134-111. Denver could be a team in the playoffs where if they finish in the 6 or 7 range, I mean, they could. I mean, if they finish 6, they'll probably be facing off with the Rockets, because I think the Spurs are going to be able to pull out that number 2 seed. But I mean, they could pick up a couple of games against the Rockets and give them a run for their money, I think. But they probably won't get past the first round either way. But as for those Suns, you had Marquise Chris with 16 points, 4 rebounds. TJ Warren had 13 points, and Devin Booker, not a good shooting game from him, 4 of 13, only 17 points, and 2 of 7 from the three-point line. As for the Denver Nuggets, you had Jamal Murray with 13 points. He shot 6 of 11. Wilson Chandler had 17 points, 7 rebounds, shot 7 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from the three-point line. Gary Harris, he had a big game from him. He had like 24 points, I think it was, in the first half. Finished the game with 36. Had 4 rebounds, shot 14 of 17, and 3 of 5 from the three-point line. As for the New Orleans Pelicans, they beat the Utah Jazz 108-98. Anthony Davis, 29 points, 15 rebounds, shot 11 of 26 in that one. DeMarcus Cousins, 19 points, 11 rebounds, shot 7 of 11. Rajon Rondo had 12 points, 3 assists in that one. Drew Holiday, 24 points, 6 rebounds. As for the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell yet again with a great game, 24 points, shot 6 of 17. Ricky Rubio only 11 points, 7 assists, and Derek Favors had 11 points in that one also. And Donovan Mitchell, I think he's eclipsed Jason Tatum as the second best rookie in the league right now. I mean, they're really close. They've been going back and forth. I know Jason Tatum did win Rookie of the Month for the month of December, but I mean, Donovan Mitchell has pretty much just been right there with Jason Tatum. And I don't think, like, everyone's been saying Ben Simmons is the clear-cut best rookie, and I agree that he's the best rookie, but I don't think it's that far off for everyone to be saying, like, no one really comes close to him. I think Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell are right there. They've been playing well. I know Ben Simmons is a good rebounder and good at passing the ball and getting assists, but I just don't think that it's that far off for Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell to catch him in the rookie race. Obviously, Ben Simmons is going to be my pick for Rookie of the Year, but I just don't think the gap is that much, is as much as people are making it out to be. As for the Oklahoma City Thunder, they headed into LA, faced off with the Lakers. Lakers had no chance in that one. Thunder won this one 133-96. Carmelo Anthony had a good shooting night, 21 points, 6 rebounds, shot 8 of 14. Paul George, also a good shooting night from him, 24 points, 9 of 14 shooting, had 3 assists. Russell Westbrook, 20 points, shot 10 of 17, 6 rebounds, 12 assists. And Terrence Ferguson had a breakout game right here. He had 24 points, shot 9 of 12, and 6 of 9 from the three-point line. And it looks like the Thunder, they're 21-17 right now. It looks like they're finally starting to put it together. I still think, honestly, if they were to face the Warriors, that the Warriors would sweep them in the playoffs. But, I mean, we just got to wait and see how well the Thunder can continue to play together. But it looks like they're starting to figure it out. I mean, you see Carmelo with only 14 shots. He made 8 of them. And same with Paul George. He made 9 of his 14 shots. You just really need these guys to start taking better shots and not take as many as they usually do. So if they're able to do that and play well together, I mean, this could be a dangerous team. But I still think they have no chance against the Warriors. As for the Lakers, not a good game from them at all. You had Julius Randle with only 9 points. Kyle Kuzma had 18 points, shot 7 of 14. Brandon Ingram only 7 points, shot 3 of 9. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had 12 points. Lakers are currently spiraling out of control. They better pick it up, or else, I mean, I think unless they have the number 1, or I think they're actually losing the pick either way. So, I mean, if they have the number 1 pick, then Philly gets it. And anything from 2 through 5 belongs to Celtics. And anything after that, Philly gets it. So, I mean, the Lakers are in trouble right now. So they really, I think actually if they get I gotta double check on that. I think if they get the number 1 pick, then they might be able to keep. And I think if it's 6 through 30, then Philly gets it. And obviously if it's 2 through 5, then Boston gets it. But like I said, I have to double check on that. But talking about the Celtics, yesterday they faced off with Cleveland on ESPN. And Boston pretty much dominated from start to finish. Boston won that one 102-88. As for Cleveland, you had LeBron James. An alright game from him, only 19 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 8 of 15 in that one. J.R. Smith, only 10 points from him. Kevin Love came out of that game injured, but wasn't really doing anything before that. He only had 2 points, shot 1 of 11. Off the bench, you had Jeff Green with 13 points, but shot 3 of 11. Tristan Thompson came in with 10 points, 11 rebounds off the bench. Dwayne Wade, 5 points, only shot 2 of 10. And Kyle Korver, he had 15 points, but made most of those from the three-point line in the first half. He shot 5 of 8 from 3 and then 5 of 11 from the field. As for those Boston Celtics, you had Al Horford with 11 points, 9 rebounds. He shot 5 of 7. Kyrie Irving, only 11 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 5 of 14. Jaylen Brown, 14 points, shot 5 of 13 in that one. I mean, Kyrie Irving, he shot 5 of 14. Jaylen Brown shot 5 of 13. Again, Jaylen Brown had 14 points, 8 rebounds. Jason Tatum had 15 points, shot 6 of 14. Off the bench, you had Terry Rozier with a huge game, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 8 of 12 shooting. Marcus Smart had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and he shot 6 of 14. Pretty encouraging for Boston for them to beat down on the Cavs by that much, by 14 points, and Kyrie Irving only scores 11 points in that one, just doesn't really shoot the ball really well at all in that game. So, I mean, that's something that they can really look forward to. And as for who's the team to beat in the East, I think it's the Celtics right now. They're the best team in the East right now. They're currently 31-10. Cavs are 25 and 13. And I know they're barely getting Isaiah Thomas back, but I mean, is he really? He's going to make a difference on the offensive end, but defensively, I mean, the Cavs are just going to get a whole lot worse. So, I mean, I'm not really too sure if he's going to be the savior of that team. I mean, obviously it's going to be Celtics versus Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. At least that's what I think. So, I mean, we have a bunch of time to see, but I mean, they're really, both teams, or at least the Cavs, they just really need to figure it out, and they can't be losing to Boston like this. I know they were playing on a back-to-back, but I mean, there's really no excuse for losing to the Celtics when Kyrie Irving only scores 11 points. So we'll see if they can figure it out. I'm sure they will, but that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking teams in the playoffs in the NFL, talking about each team and whether or not they really have a solid chance of making it to a Super Bowl and possibly winning it. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Last segment we recapped the NBA games from last night, which was Wednesday, and talked a little about the Celtics and Cavs, talked about who the best team in the East is, and it's right now it's the Celtics, and I think they are the team to beat in the East right now. They're playing the best basketball, and like I said yesterday, when you're able to beat the Cavaliers by 14 points and Kyrie Irving only scores 11 of those, scores 11 points, I mean, you're in a good spot. So we'll see how the season plays out. I know they got a couple of more games left against each other. So like I said, we'll just see how it all plays out. But let's talk some NFL right here. We're going to talk about each team in the playoffs in the AFC, and NFC, and we're going to talk about their Super Bowl chances. Ooh. All right. So let's start off in the AFC. Let's start with the wild card team. Just get them out the way. All right. So Buffalo Bills, currently the 6th seed. Well, yeah, they are the 6th seed, obviously. And right now, it's not known if LaShawn McCoy is going to be playing Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, I mean, even if he does play, let's say that they're able to pull out a win against the Jags, which I don't think I'm not going to give away a pick, not going to give it away. But, I mean, the Bills they really don't have any shot whatsoever of making it to the Super Bowl, if we're being honest here. They do have a shot if LaShawn McCoy plays against Jacksonville to beat Jacksonville, but after that, they're going to have to play the New England Patriots, and obviously, I'm taking Tom Brady over Tyrod Taylor and that entire Buffalo Bills team 10 times out of 10. So, I mean, the Bills really got no shot. Congrats, you made the playoffs, but that's pretty much it right there. There's nothing else to say about the Bills. I mean, good story. They made the playoffs after a 21-year playoff drought, which was the longest active drought in all of the 4 major sports out of the NHL, MLB, and NBA, and obviously the NFL. So, I mean, good for them to make the playoffs, but, I mean, that's pretty much all they're getting right there. Just a pat on the back because they're either losing to Jacksonville or they're going to lose to New England. There's really no doubt about it. As for the Tennessee Titans, I mean, it's pretty much same thing with them. You got Marcus Mariota, who played all right, I guess, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pulled out a win that they needed huge. Humongously right there, a big win. And, I mean, like I said, they could beat Kansas City, but they really, after that, they're going to have to play Pittsburgh, and they'd have no shots. So, well, either Pittsburgh or New England, like I said, against both those teams, and neither of them have a shot. So, I mean, Tennessee, congrats, but there's nothing for them in the playoffs. I mean, it's one and done pretty much. Now, let's talk about the teams who might have a chance. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so beginning of the year, I think they started off 5-1. Everyone's talking about Kansas City as AFC contenders, AFC Championship contenders, team who might be able to possibly make the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, after they started off 5-1, I think it is 5-2, whatever it was, they went on this terrible slide where they just couldn't really compete with anyone. They were losing a bunch of games. Ended up getting back to like 6-5, I think. And then they finished 10-6. Right now they're looking good, and you know what? They do have a chance. I'll say that, okay? Kansas City has a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. That's it. Just a chance. All right. You got Alex Smith, who's been playing well all season. Probably one of the better years of his career, if not the best. Kareem Hunt, he's went on a little hit a rookie wall for the middle part of the season, but after that, I mean, he's been playing really well and back to how he was playing in the beginning of the season. And then you got Tyreek Hill, who's an explosive receiver. And then you got Travis Kelce, who is, besides Gronk, the best tight end in all of the league. And the only thing that really scares me about Kansas City is that defense really isn't as good as it's been the last few seasons. Secondary gives up a lot of yards, gives up a lot of touchdowns. They do create a bunch of turnovers, but I mean, you can't, that's not winning football right there. You can't just continue to try and win games just based off of turnovers. Eventually, you're going to have to come up with a bunch of stops because you're going to run into a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers and New England Patriots who don't turn the ball over really at all. So they're really going to have to figure that out. And I think if they were to face a team like the Patriots in the divisional round, Kansas City does have a good chance of beating the Patriots. For some reason, the same way the Steelers can't beat the Patriots can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what it is, but it's just something about Kansas City where like they're the boogeyman to the Patriots. I mean, the last couple of years, I mean, Kansas City's blown them out in the regular season. I know this is the playoffs, not the regular season, but either way, Andy Reid knows what it takes to beat Bill Belichick and beat him badly. So, I mean, they're really going to need to figure it out. But I think the Chiefs, they do have a chance, but I mean, it's not really that high of a chance. So, as for the next team, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was pretty high on them before the San Francisco 49ers game, and all of a sudden, after Jimmy G did whatever he wanted against them, they really haven't looked good the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the first week being the 49ers game and the second game being the Titans game. They lost both of those, obviously, and the defense has been playing all right. I mean, they played well against Tennessee, played poorly against San Francisco, and Blake Bortles just he was playing well for a few games, and then all of a sudden he just got way worse. Like just back to the old Blake Bortles. The Blake Bortles from last year just can't hit his receivers, making bad decisions. I'm not sure if it's the pressure of the playoffs getting to him or the pressure of like finally being in the playoffs getting to him, but the guy, he is like just not playing well at all. I remember against the Titans in the Titans game, he threw a interception off his back foot, and there was like two Titans cornerbacks waiting right there for the ball. And Blake Bortles is really hurting this team right now. He needs to figure out a way to go back to how he was playing, or at least just don't turn the ball over and let Leonard Fournette do the job on offense, because if not, this Jacksonville team has no chance whatsoever. Like the defense, it's looking like they're starting to fall off a little bit. Still the best defense in the league, but it's not looking good for Jacksonville right now. They really need to figure it out against Buffalo, and they really need to pull out a win right there. But their Super Bowl chances, I mean, I don't see it happening. I think Kansas City has a better chance of making it to the Super Bowl than Jacksonville does. So that's how I feel about that. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously I think they have a great chance at making it to the Super Bowl. If they make it to the Super Bowl, I'm sure they could go out and win it. They're going to get Antonio Brown back, it looks like, in the divisional round. And I'm not too sure how well he's going to be playing once he gets back, but for some reason, Pittsburgh knows all about the receivers and drafts. I mean, they know how to scout them well. They know how to they know which receivers to pick up. Juju Smith-Schuster had a monster game against Cleveland. I know it was against Cleveland, but Cleveland does have a good secondary. Don't let anyone tell you different. So yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, he's been playing well. Then you got Martavius Bryant, who, even with the problems that he's had this season as far as not getting enough playing time and wanting to be traded, I mean, the guy can still break out and have a great game whenever he wants. And I don't think they're going to, even if Antonio Brown comes back and he's not at 100% playing as well as he usually does, I think they're going to be fine. So, I mean, it's just going to come down to beating New England in the AFC title game, I think. If they're able to do that, then, I mean, I'd pick them for in the Super Bowl for them to win it. But, like I said, it's just going to take them getting past New England in the AFC championship game. And that puts me to the final team in the AFC, the New England Patriots. Obviously, unless they play the Chiefs, I think that they're going to be a shoo-in for the AFC Championship. I mean, I still think that they could beat the Chiefs, but it's going to be a whole lot tougher than other people think. And I think that, it's just something about the Chiefs and in New England that New England just can't handle them. But like I said, I still think if it came down to it, I'd still pick the Patriots. But I mean, they're just going to really need to figure out a way, because I think the Chiefs will beat the Titans. So I mean, I'm sure it's going to end up being Kansas City versus New England. So like I said, they just got to figure out a way to beat them. I'm sure Bill Belichick's going to be ready. And as far as winning the Super Bowl goes, I mean, there's not really much to say about the Patriots. Obviously, we know that year after year they're going to be competing, or they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. Tom Brady's always going to be playing lights out in the playoffs. You got Deion Lewis has been playing really well all season. Brandon Cooks has been kind of off and on. You got Rob Gronkowski, who just throw him the ball and he's going to do whatever he wants against the linebackers. They're secondary. Doesn't matter who you put up against them. Offensive line has been kind of shaky. Defensive line has been non-existent. I mean, James Harrison recently signed with the Patriots. I talked about that on last Friday's podcast. Go ahead and check that out if you want to listen to it. Pretty good first segment about talking about James Harrison. But back to here. I mean, James Harrison last week against the Jets had 5 tackles, 2 sacks. I think 2 of those sacks came on the last possession. So, I mean, they're kind of garbage time sacks. But that secondary's been playing all right, and the linebackers have been so-so. New England's defense is pretty much like a bend, don't break defense. They'll give up a bunch of yards, but don't give up too many points. And I don't think that's really a good formula for winning games in the playoffs. So they're really going to need to sharpen it up on defense. But like I said, I mean, I'm sure they're going to end up in the AFC Championship game. It's going to come down to them in Pittsburgh for who makes it to the Super Bowl. So we'll see how it all ends up. And I know I was going to talk about the NFC, but I'm going to save that for the next segment. And so I could just give. You don't have to rush it, you know? So, yeah, we'll talk about the NFC in the next segment. Also, before I even talk about the NFC in the next segment, I'll be giving up the college basketball scores from last night and pretty much anything else going on in sports before we get into that. So, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. It's going to be the last segment of our show, as we usually do. Let's, actually, for that last segment, we talked about, before I even get into this new one, we talked about the AFC teams, talked about which teams have a real chance of making it to the Super Bowl. I mean, Buffalo and Tennessee really have no chance whatsoever. Kansas City, they do have a chance, but they got to get through New England and do it, and they got to just pretty much play how they were in the beginning of the season. I mean, they're still not back to how they were. They're playing all right, but just not as good as they should be. Jacksonville, I mean, they got to figure out what's wrong with Blake Bortles right now because that guy just turned into such a terrible quarterback at the worst possible time. And then Pittsburgh and New England, as always, they always got a shot to make it. So, I mean, there's not really much to say about them other than, I mean, Antonio Brown needs to get healthy and that New England defense needs to start playing a whole lot better. But let's get into some college basketball scores from last night. You had number 12 North Carolina facing off with number 24 Florida State. Florida State won that game 81-80. Florida State's that's a solid college basketball program right there. I remember they beat Duke last year, and they're always able to hang with the teams like Duke and North Carolina in the ACC. So watch out for Florida State this year. As for number 25 Clemson, they beat Boston College 74-70. Number 13 ranked Purdue beat Rutgers 82-51. Kentucky beat LSU. Kentucky is currently ranked 17. They won that game 74-71. Georgia Tech upset number 15 Miami 64-54. Number 8 Virginia beat Virginia Tech 78-52. And Oklahoma, who is ranked number 7th right now, beat Oklahoma State 109-89. Trae Young had a big game right there, and Trae Young is going to be someone who's probably going to go in the top 5 of the NBA draft next year. So he's been fun to watch so far this season. As for today, you got number 9 Wichita State playing Houston. Then you got number 1 Michigan State playing Maryland. Arizona State playing Colorado. Arizona State's currently ranked number 14. And number 19 Cincinnati playing Temple. And then you got number 14 ranked Arizona playing Utah. And then number 19 ranked Gonzaga playing Pepperdine. So check out those games later on. And let's talk about the NFC teams. Which of these teams have a real chance of making the Super Bowl? All right, so like I said, we're going to do for that we did for the last segment. We're going to start off with the wild card teams and then work our way up. So let's start with Atlanta. All right, so Atlanta, they made the Super Bowl last year. We all remember that game. I don't need to bring up how they were up 28-3 and gave that up. It's overused, all right? It's done. It happened, whatever. But this season, they finished 10-6, but I mean, Atlanta was probably the oddest team, just the oddest team to watch this season. Like I said, they finished 10-6, but they just really never seemed to put it together. Like they just never became the Atlanta Falcons that they were last season. All right, because Julio Jones really didn't have all that good of a year. I mean, yeah, he put up solid numbers, but it just isn't what you expect from a player like Julio Jones. He did have that 253-yard receiving game, but I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, he just wasn't consistent enough, didn't put up enough 100-yard receiving games, and I feel like he could have did a whole lot better than he did this season. Matt Ryan just didn't look like the MVP he was last year. Devontae Freeman's starting to look a whole lot better than he did in the beginning of the season and in the middle of the season. I think it's because he's starting to get the ball a whole lot more. I remember for most of the season, I mean, him and Tevin Coleman were probably getting about 20 carries combined, and that's simply not enough for the both of them. I think they at least Devontae Freeman. He needs at least 17, 20 carries a game in order for him to be playing at his best. And then Tevin Coleman, he needs at least 10, 15 touches a game in order to maximize his play. So, I mean, they really just didn't play well. Mohamed Sanu did play well this season, but, I mean, you really just need those other guys to play well in order for them to figure it out. Defense played well all season, and that's pretty much why I think they finished 10-6. Defense kept them in a lot of the games, and, I mean, when you're putting up 21 points and your defense is only giving up less than 15, less than 17, then you're always going to have a chance to win, obviously. So, they did that, but, I mean, there's always a chance that they're able to put it together in the playoffs, and they'll be playing the Rams on Sunday or Saturday. Saturday, I think it is, in LA. So, I mean, if they're able to beat the Rams, then Atlanta's got a good chance to make it back to this Super Bowl, honestly. They beat the Rams, then they're either going to be facing off with the Eagles, I believe, all right? And I think that Atlanta, whether or not they were a wild card or not or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but I'll take Atlanta over Philly 10 times out of 10 with Nick Foles playing quarterback. That's actually, I don't want to talk too much about Philly since I got to talk about them in a little bit, but I feel like if Atlanta was able to get past LA, then, I mean, all they'd have to worry about is either playing Carolina or New Orleans in the NFC Championship game. So, I mean, Atlanta's got a solid chance, actually, now you think about it, to make it to the Super Bowl. All they got to do is get past LA, and if they do that, then, I mean, it's smooth sailing after that. But we'll see. I mean, that brings me to my next point. You got Carolina, and they're playing the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. And I guess it's the same thing with Atlanta, their Super Bowl chances. I mean, if they get past the Saints, I mean, they're going to have to play the Vikings, and I think Carolina could beat the Vikings. I don't trust Case Keenum yet for some reason. The guy's been playing well all year, and there's just something about I don't know if it's just because he hasn't been that great of a quarterback just in his career. I mean, this is the best year he's ever had, but I mean, I don't know what it is about the Vikings, but I mean, if the Carolina Panthers, going back to them, I mean, you get Cam Newton. The guy is not accurate throwing the ball, but I mean, he's a winner. He's a proven winner. He's been to a Super Bowl already. He knows what it takes to get there. Right, defense has been playing well. They force a lot of turnovers and they get stops. And then you got the 1-2 punch in Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Stewart. Christian McCaffrey's been a beast so far this season. I think he was the second highest rookie in reception numbers this season, and right behind Alvin Kamara. It's either Kamara was number one or McCaffrey was number one, but either way, I mean, big year for McCaffrey right there. And Devin Funch has been playing well since Kelvin Benjamin left to Buffalo, and that offensive line has been playing well too. And I mean, it really just comes down to whether or not Cam's going to be able to take off with the ball and pretty much get some yards on the ground. Because if he's able to do that, then that's a dual threat right there. And Cam's a whole lot harder to stop if he's out taking off with the ball and getting a bunch of yards at a time. He's always good for about a couple of touchdowns a game too. So I mean, you just really got to find a way to. If Cam is limited against New Orleans, then they really ain't got no shot. But I mean, if they get past New Orleans, then they have a decent shot at making it to the Super Bowl. They'd probably end up with them versus Atlanta in the NFC Championship game if Atlanta were to get past LA. But I mean, that's all I got to say about Carolina right there. I mean, they just got to get past Carolina, Atlanta. If they both win their wild card games, then they have all the chance in the world to make it to the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that right there. Don't be surprised if Atlanta beats LA and Carolina beats the Saints, that they're playing each other in the NFC title game. One of those teams will make it to the Super Bowl, I think, if they're able to both pull it out, but we have to wait and see. And as for New Orleans, I mean, like I said, they just pretty much got to, if New Orleans beats Carolina, then I think New Orleans is making it to the Super Bowl. That's my Super Bowl. That's my pick out of the NFC right now, New Orleans. Right now, they got a solid 1-2 punch, probably the best 1-2 punch out of all the running back duos in the league with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram's going to be so far this season, probably the best year of his career. And Alvin Kamara, I think he should win Rookie of the Year this season. So we're going to see about that. But like I said, they got them, and then you got Michael Thomas, who's been playing one of the best receivers in the league. I feel top 5 guy. I think he has the most receptions in his first 2 years out of any receiver ever. I think he just broke that record. Jarvis Landry previously held that record. But Michael Thomas, like I said, he's been playing well. He's a big receiver, and he's also quick too. So, I mean, he's the dual threat type of guy at the receiver position. Doesn't drop too many balls, and that's Drew Brees' go-to right there. And like talking about Drew Brees, guy's won a Super Bowl already, so he knows what it takes to get there. And the biggest thing about New Orleans that I like that they haven't really had the last few seasons is they got a solid defense now. It's not a great defense or anything like that, but it's a defense who can keep them in the game and get stops when they need to. Marshawn Lattimore might be the defensive rookie of the year, if not for TJ Watt or Reuben Foster, so it's going to be one of those 3, I feel. But Marshawn Lattimore, he's already one of the better corners in the league this year. This has been a really good draft, too, if you think about it. I mean, you got Marshawn Lattimore, TJ Watt, Reuben Foster, Leonard Fournette, and then I'm sure I'm missing a couple of other guys, but I mean, that's 4 solid players right there, 4 solid starters in the league right there. Oh, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt. So like I said, I mean, this has been a great draft, a great rookie class. So, but just going back to the Saints, like I said, that defense has been playing well, and I'd really, like I said, they're my pick to get out of the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl. And like I said, it's all it's going to take is getting past Carolina. They get past Carolina, then I don't think anyone else is going to stop them. But I mean, like I said, New Orleans is my pick right now. But as for the LA Rams, they gotta get past Atlanta, or Atlanta's gotta get past them, because right now I feel that LA is the better team out of those two, and it's gonna be interesting to see how Jared Goff plays in his obviously it is his first playoff experience. Guy played well all season, but he's a really young quarterback, and like playoffs is a whole different animal than the regular season. I'll tell you that much right there from what players say. So Jared Goff just really needs to figure out a way to not let the moment get too big and figure out a way to just pretty much take control of it, because if not, then they're going to have trouble, because I know Todd Gurley is the best player on that offense, but you can only go as far as your quarterback takes you. So we're going to see how they do right there, and I don't have any worries about their defense in the playoffs this season. I think defense is going to play well, and like I said, it's going to come down to Jared Goff. They do have a solid chance of making it to a Super Bowl. If they beat the Falcons, then it'll be them versus the New Orleans Saints in the NFC title game. I'm about 100% sure about that if both teams are able to get past in their wild card game. So we'll see about it. But like I said, it's going to be Jared Goff. It's going to come down to him, and they're going to only go as far as he takes them. So we'll see about that. As for the Minnesota Vikings, I don't know why. I just haven't been a believer in the Vikings. I mean, you got Sam Bradford coming back, and why is Sam Bradford even being brought up? Case Keenum's a guy, and that's one thing that kind of scares me about Minnesota. I don't even think Minnesota believes in Case Keenum. Like Mike Zimmer, I don't think Mike Zimmer believes enough in Case Keenum, and I don't believe enough in Case Keenum, and I don't believe enough in the Vikings. I mean, I can't see the Vikings making it to a Super Bowl. I'm sorry to say it, but I don't see it happening. They're a great team. They're a great defense, probably the second best defense in the league. But I mean, do we really see Case Keenum taking the Vikings to the Super Bowl? Maybe, but I mean, I'm not a believer yet, but I'm probably wrong about it, to be honest. I mean, the Vikings, they play well all season, so I mean, they could beat a team like New Orleans, and they could hang with a team like the Rams, but I just think the Rams and Saints are better than the Vikings at the moment. And for the final team in the NFC is the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz is the quarterback. Philadelphia is my pick to make it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, but towards ACL, so no, Nick Foles is out there. Nick Foles played his last full game was against Oakland, and he did nothing against that garbage defense. Nothing. So I'm not a believer in Philly. I don't think that they're going to win their divisional game. It's going to be, I'll take Carolina, I'll take Atlanta, I'll take the Rams, and I'll take the Saints over Philly any day of the week with Nick Foles playing quarterback. So just not a believer in Philly right now. I mean, once Carson Wentz gets that ACL all healed up and he's back next year, maybe they'll be back, but just this year it's not looking good for Philly. So that's all I got to say about those NFC teams right there. Like I said, the Saints are currently my favorite to get out of the NFC, but we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe the Rams, if they get past, they're able to beat the Falcons. But that's actually going to wrap it up for today's show. Today we talked about, We talked about the top head coaching vacancies in the NFL right now. I said the Detroit Lions had the number 1 spot, then Chicago, then Oakland, then New York is in the Giants, then the Colts and the Cardinals. Talked about the NBA in the second segment, and then did the same thing I talked about the AFC playoff teams, which teams had a good chance of making it to the Super Bowl in the AFC, and then we did the same thing here and also gave the scores for the college basketball games. Ooh, let me make my NBA picks before the show is over. Let's see. I think we only got 2 games going on tonight. Both of those games are going to be on TNT, I believe. I think we get the Warriors and Rockets. I got the Warriors in that one. No James Harden. Means Warriors are the better team, obviously. And then we got the Thunder and Clippers. I'm going to go with the Thunder in that one. Let's see if I could go 2 for 2. So like I said, I got the Warriors and the Thunder winning today. And like I said, that's going to be it for today's show. Thanks for listening. We'll actually be back tomorrow. We'll be making our picks for the wild card games coming up this weekend, pretty much talking about whatever else comes to mind in sports. So stay tuned, and like I said, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.